And if you haven't seen the video from the webinar this week, that's kind of what we're going to be discussing. Yes, I brought slides. I'm a product manager. I have to. But, I think that there's a lot for us to discuss first.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a lot of cool stuff. And the weather has been very lion-like as well. Very windy. I just I think it was Wednesday night, I ran out to get some stuff, and unfortunately I got caught in the rain. It almost destroyed my umbrella because right as I hopped out, it decided to dump, and I was headed into the store, and then whoosh, here comes I had to turn around backwards to let it pop my umbrella back the right way. I almost got, taken away like Mary Poppins in not the good way. So yeah, it was not fun trying to go out in the storm to get some groceries and things. Do not recommend. But I had no choice. I was trying to get there before the store closed. So, how
In the
has
moment
your
of fantastic irony, March is when summer begins in India, and I'm getting a cold.
Well, summer colds are a thing.
Makes no
So
sense.
wishing you, a rapid recovery and, all of those things. And, hope you're feeling better soon.
Thank you. Good thing I work from home, so nobody has to get my illness from me.
Yeah, totally. Well, yes, I hope you are taking it easy on the weekend and feeling better. What a way to spend Friday night, right? Hanging out with
Yeah.
us.
Well, I get to
Best.
spend it hanging out with my son's school. So I was going to say, I have all the parties planned. It's the chili cook-off today at Charlie's Elementary School. And so after I'm done here, I'm going to restart the work I've been doing for the last 2 days because proper chili takes time. And so I was going to say, I started the chili on Wednesday. I did the next steps yesterday. I'm doing it next after lunch, or excuse me, after IT hour here. We're going to go fire up the grill. Got some flank steak to cook off and prepare. And then it's all afternoon doing chili prep so that I can go win the chili cook-off for his class. And the whole goal is pizza party for Miss Marshall's class. And I am all in. So I was going to say, I've been doing a lot of, shall we say, motivational speaking on the PTSO listserv, encouraging other people to, bring their A game because I have some concerns that they don't have any. So it's going to be pretty great.
That's
Stakes are
awesome.
high.
That's right. Pizza's on the line.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
controversial
What kids
opinion,
love
but I
pizza.
really enjoy Hawaiian pizza. I
Hawaiian
really
pizza
like
is my favorite.
Hawaiian pizza.
That's my regular go-to. So
love
pineapple
it.
belongs on pizza. So
Mhm.
Yes. All three of
Pineapple
us agree?
and Canadian bacon or, ham, depending on what restaurant you're at. But
This
yeah,
is the first time I've been in like a group of more than two people and everyone's agreed that pineapple belongs on pizza. What a moment.
especially when it gets that little crispy char from being inside the oven. It's good stuff. Oh, so Rob's asking the real question, yes or no, cocoa in chili?
um,
Why
I
not?
don't think this is controversial. No. I'm not a gatekeeper though. So I know too many people who gatekeep their chili and they're like, Texas people say no beans in chili. And I'm like, where's the fun in your life? So if you want to put cocoa in chili, put cocoa in chili. If you want to put cinnamon in chili, put cinnamon in chili. I'm not going to eat it, but that's okay. So more chili for all the peeps. And definitely not serving it over pasta because Cincinnati chili. And sorry, AJ, I can't with the Cincy chili. It just does not work for me.
All right, two things. Chorizo.
Yes.
Chorizo and pico de gallo type salsa thrown
Yes.
in there makes an amazing chili, along with all the the other stuff, the beans. I use ground turkey instead of ground beef a lot of times, but it really does add amazing flavor to chili.
All right, I hear it.
I
I
put
think that's a solid take on that. I mean, I was gonna say when I do the spice rub for the meat that goes in the chili, that is all mostly, cayenne and a little bit of roasted garlic as well as, various and sundry peppers. My chili is spicy, but it will not hurt you.
it's not the right
Yeah.
kind of spicy. If you're not like regretting it for the next 3 days, is it really spicy enough? Because when I heard of chili, and I was like, wow, okay, this is going to be amazing. And I'm like, this is just some beans and stuff. Sorry, guys. Very sorry. But I
Yep,
was
yep. No,
underwhelmed.
no worries there, friends. No worries there. Um,
Don't
but
cancel me.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I'm sadly unable to eat spicy or even tomato-based stuff anymore, and it makes me very, very sad. So I miss it.
yeah, that's tough.
It is.
When
Yeah.
It is. Makes me cry. Wah. Oh yeah, Rob says sriracha. No, well, I mean sriracha's okay, but I'm more of a Cholula, Tapatio type person.
I
Although here
thought
in
with
North Carolina,
sriracha.
people do Texas Pete. That
Oh
is
yeah,
a thing here. But
that is kind of a thing.
yeah, but I lived in Southern California for so long that those were kind of my go-tos.
Cholula's my go-to like hot sauce in a jar in a can, but
Mhm.
there's a company called Weak Knees, and they make various and sundry hot spicy things, and they have a gochujang sriracha that is just
Oh,
perfection. And I put that in my noodle soup, and when it's chicken noodle soup time, and that gives it that nice little burn to make you feel something when you can't smell anything. So
my problem with sriracha is that it takes over the taste of everything. Like it doesn't complement the flavors of whatever it is you're eating. It's just like now everything tastes like sriracha. You could literally just put it on like boiled chicken and it would just, or you could put it on curry and it would just taste like sriracha.
Yeah.
So that
Rob.
is
Rob says, thank you for not saying
Tabasco.
Tabasco. No, it is just tastes like vinegar. No. Mm-mm.
yeah, Tabasco and I are not friends, although they do make a chipotle version that's actually pretty good. That's got the nice smoky vinegar flavor.
Um, I like oh now of course now that I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna forget the name. I'll have to come back to it and look it up because there was stuff that came in a can that was they had a chipotle and a chili verde and some others that was actually pretty good. But I used to get it again in California all the time, and now I can't remember. So I'll have to look it up later and post it. Ooh, capsaicin oil on his food. Ooh. Oh my.
Absolutely not.
No.
That just sounds like chemical warfare.
Yeah. Although for a while I was able to eat really super spicy food and it was great, but it came about by accident because I was at a Jamaican place and I ordered the mild and somebody else ordered the extra spicy and they switched our plates when they sat the food down.
Oh no.
And I was like,
Oh
"Oh,
no,
this
friend.
this mild food is awfully hot." And they were going, "This doesn't taste very hot at all." And it was so hot that my mouth flames on the side of my face. And I couldn't taste anything. Like even the things that weren't spicy, like the beans and other stuff, tasted hot just from the heat of them being warm. My drink tasted hot. I mean, everything.
Yeah, you just get
I'm
Everything.
looking at capsaicin and it's just the regular chilies that we use here. Sorry to keep flexing, but like I bought chili oil that's made of this. And that's like a regular chili oil, you guys.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: chili and hot spicy is everywhere. Although I will say, I understand it is more common, shall we say, in the Indian environment than it is in the
Yes.
states.
Yeah.
I That's why I really want to come visit because I want to like broaden my
Yes.
palate in terms of like the spicy stuff. So,
Yes.
I was gonna say when it happen when I do get over, Urvashi, you're gonna take me out. We're gonna go have delicious food.
Well, here's
All
the
the
funny
things.
thing. Um, Probably half to 3/4 of my neighborhood is Indian. So I have some amazing restaurants in the area right here, and I've been to there's a little Indian buffet just across the railroad tracks from me, and it's amazing. They have all different spice levels and stuff, and that's where all of my neighbors go. So that's why I know, okay, that's a good place. If all my neighbors go there, then I know that's the place to be. And yeah, the food there is
At at my previous company, my colleague who is a white man asked me to pick him up some Indian food because I was going out, and I was like, okay, what level spice do you want? He was like, I want Indian hot. I'm like, listen, Kevin, they give you a different Indian hot than they give me. So do you want me to ask for Indian hot or not? He was like, no, you ask for it. I'll manage it. And I brought it back, and I could see him just like sweating. It's like, it's great. It's so good. Face is
Well, that's the
red.
thing. Well, and it was very interesting. We had a leadership retreat in Louisville at the headquarters recently, and I went out with several of my product and user experience colleagues, and we ended up at this really great Indian place. And Piyush, who is he's the director of enterprise agility for us, which means he keeps engineering and product working together and all of our systems going well. We let Piyush order for us. And so Piyush and one of our other coworkers went over to the counter and ordered. And so I think we may have gotten appropriate levels of hotness because that dinner was both amazing, and Jake can attest to this. He's in the chat there, but also quite spicy. And so yeah, I was going to say I think we may have gotten an appropriate level of spice. But so yeah, I was going to say. Right.
I would have died.
There were multiple levels of spicy, and there was a lot of really great raita. So kind of takes the edge off if it's too hard. But yeah, I was going to say very, very, very good. So,
Wow.
But, well, should we dive
Today's
in? What are we
episode is
talking?
actually about chili trends.
No, this is the spicy IT hour.
And we're not
Yes.
just talking about Windows policy.
Yeah.
So
It's the IT hour. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Although we could get spicy and talk about what was it in one of the Slacks, somebody talking about calling Apple,
it was rotten apple.
yeah, rotten apple, and they're like, well, we don't call it broken windows all the time. We could just have a conversation on that. Oh. Oh, and Ross, thank you for your comment. I did see it. I just kind of skipped over it for a moment. Quick announcement. Ross was telling me congratulations. I joined the Mac Admins Foundation as a board member along with Tom, and I'm very excited to be a part of that now, and looking forward to doing a lot of cool and fun things. So
Yes, we are thrilled to have you on the board of the Mac Admins Foundation. If you're not familiar with the Mac Admins Foundation, you can go take a look at macadmins.org. We are the the home of the professional practice community for Apple admins, and that's people who manage Apple devices using whatever device manager they want to. Intune, Jamf, Jump Cloud, Kanji, all of those folks. You got to have some place to go, like learn new things and learn new items. And Becky's joining our board. She's going to be helping us, manage our community better. There are 65,000 people in the Mac Admin Slack now, which is wild because that's bigger than the town I grew up in by like a fair bit now. So we couldn't be more thrilled that Becky's joining our board. Her experience building community, building organizations that build community is so valuable to our efforts, and we couldn't be more excited she's joining. So thank you for volunteering, Becky, and we're thrilled to see what you'll be able to do on the board.
yeah, thank you. And the town I grew up in, actually I grew up outside of a town, so I didn't even really grow up in town. My hometown was like 400 people. So you want to talk about
boy.
it being way larger than my hometown. So, Dean saying, I searched for Mac and Men's. Oh, whoops. Yeah. Well, Urvashi put the link in the
URL
chat,
in there. Yep. And the other thing, if you autocorrect is always kind of fun because if you type Mac admins, most times Siri says macadamias. And while we are not yet into industrial agriculture in the tree nut varietals, it's only going to be a matter of time before we are. So
I think we should get a redirect.
Yes, correct. Macadamias.org, and we'll just set it up that way.
Absolutely. All right. So in today's news, not a lot going on in the community as of this moment, but we do have some product news. And actually,
Oh,
Tom, this
yes.
is on your team. So I put
Well,
it in here, but if you want
I've
to talk
got
about it.
3 things to talk about today because one of the thing a couple of the things that and we'll talk about the first one in there first. So, we've got, GA for the BTE phase 1. Better Together Enterprise is Google's initiative for managing your Android devices using your Google identity. And so that Google identity can, of course, be powered by Jump Cloud. So we're thrilled about that. Better Together Enterprise makes it easier for your people to set up new device managers for Android devices using your domain. So we've got that put together. And of course, dedicated devices and a kiosk mode devices that are managed by Jump Cloud today got a major increase in functionality, starting with some of our kiosk mode policies. So please take a look at the community post there. We'll make sure that that goes into the space. So but there's a lot of really great stuff there, and Sergi and the team worked really, really hard to make sure that we've got great use cases there for you. If you've got mobile devices that are maybe fixed at the front desk, or they're help powering your conference rooms and things along those lines. So keep looking at that, and we've got a lot of really great stuff coming for mobile devices here in 2024 in the first half. I'll be excited to be back on the IT Hour several times next quarter to talk about all of our progress there. So there's a lot of really cool stuff coming for mobile devices. And, one of the best ways to think about this is, we all have these devices out there, and we all have, this is Tom Bridges' personal iPhone. This is not Jump Cloud's iPhone. And I want to make sure that I can manage this safely. And so we'll have a lot more to talk about how you can safely and securely manage personally owned devices alongside your corporate managed devices, and then use them for, awesome things like conditional access policies. So look for that as we talk about the future. Another major update here was the private repo for application management has gone live. If you have applications that are unique to your environment that you want to deploy out to all of your devices, whether they are internal tools or tools that just don't have a public URL, here I think security tools are oftentimes part of that solution. If you've got signed distribution style packages, for the Mac platform, or appropriately configured MSI devices, you can now upload, or MSI installers, you can now upload those directly to Jump Cloud and deploy those out. We're giving every customer the option to do this that has device management. And so there is a storage limit. It's very generous at about 10 gig right now. So we are very interested in your feedback. Please drop me a note. I'm easy to find if you're having challenges here. But we're going to have a lot more to talk about also for app lifecycle management in the future in this quarter. But this is a big part of the Jump Cloud effort to make device management easier by supporting more different use cases and functionalities for app deployment. And of course, we'll have more to say here soon about other different ways to deploy applications. So keep aware of what's coming, and keep your eyes on the horizon. Last but not least, in password manager functionality, you can now, instead of just raw deleting individual passwords from your environment, which is not so bueno, you can maybe archive those applications first, so that when you delete, and when you actually invoke the delete button in the password manager, it actually goes into an archive for a little while, just in case that was accidental, or maybe you need those credentials back in the future. So we now have the full option for password manager archiving, and that's built into the build that's out this week. So please give this a look. We're very, very excited for this. Also included in that release is an improvement in our sync engine. So you will see faster syncs between your individual devices in the cloud, and faster syncs that are more complete and have a better accuracy rate. So we're super excited for all of those kind of things. So.
I know, so much going on. It's very exciting to see some of those starting to come to fruition.
Yep,
We
fantastic.
we already have some questions.
Oh, great.
Do you want to do those
Questions I
now?
like.
All right, let's
Drop
see.
says, oh, not what I was trying to do. Okay. Limited use for me, but great for 95% of the user base. I'm still waiting on being able to push a specific URL for download location to pull from our on-prem servers.
If you're here's the challenge with on-prem, right? Like we have to be, we're a cloud-based management solution. And so being cloud-based management solution, we can't validate things that are internal. We're not going to try and deploy things that we can't at least take a quick look at just to make sure that they're properly formatted so that we're sure they're going to work with your, with your jump cloud agents. So as a result, that's why we are not dealing with on-prem here. I know Rob's got a very specific situation here with on-prem, mostly due to where he's located and some low bandwidth concerns here. And so we hear you loud and clear that we're looking at other options here in terms of developing, peer-to-peer solutions for this. That's not part of our mandate for this year. So please continue to, put those feature requests in, but we're not doing peer-to-peer deployment just yet.
There is always torrent for that. Sorry. Next question.
No, there isn't, Rashid. There is not.
I'm going to bleep that out later on.
No, not allowed.
Nathan also has a question. With private repo, what is the recommendation for transitioning apps from self-hosted to custom jump cloud hosted?
If you have an application that has been, that you've already uploaded, or excuse me, that you've already used an external URL for, you can create a new application that you upload directly to Jump Cloud. You would then remove the previous application. That will not remove it from your devices. But then you can add the new application and deploy that out to your fleet for new devices that way. It will result, at least for the moment, in terms of redeploying that application to your current devices. The behavior for that is actually pretty straightforward and understood. So look at our documentation. There are some ways to handle that, and I'll see if we can come up with a good community post on handling that. That's a great call out, Nathan, in terms of, hey, I'm already using this from a custom URL. Maybe I just want to upload this to Jump Cloud instead. I think that we can definitely work on some documentation for you there.
Awesome. I think that was it.
Yeah, I think so for now. All right. Well, SME IT Trends. We've been doing this for a while now, and it's always fun to see how opinions kind of change a little bit over time, especially since COVID, because it's changed a lot since then. And let's see what IT folks have to say. I mean, especially because this is an audience like you all. So let's dive into what's been going on.
Yep. Before we dive in there, Artem has a great question, which is, how does this feature handle application updates? What happens when a new MSI version is uploaded? In that case, we are currently not allowing new versions to be uploaded. We will have a solution for that a little later this year. So it would just be an additional application that would be deployed over top of the environment. So we've thought about that use case. We've got some other things that are coming in the future for that. So
nice.
Cool. So I want to talk a little bit about the state of IT in 2024, and this is an opportunity for you to reflect. This is an opportunity to learn from others in the field. We had a really broad-based survey of IT admins from all over the industry, mostly focused across the US, the UK, and India, and that's where our audience was for this particular survey this year. And mostly focused across the small to medium enterprise space, which is to say up to about 1,000 people in your organization. So that's kind of where we are. And I want to give you some of the key insights here. The key insights are that, there's a lot of optimism about AI, but it's also fairly tempered in terms of what people are concerned about, what people are frustrated about. And I think that is certainly an important part of understanding where we're going. And it's certainly a very interesting place for us to spend a little bit of time. We've got some thoughts on. In addition, security remains
Tom?
really important. Yes.
I am not seeing anything on screen.
Oh dear, you're not seeing, because it looks like I'm seeing. Is anybody seeing my slides
at all?
Urvashi,
are you?
No, I don't see it either. I thought you were like building up to a dramatic review.
Huh, wild. Let's try this again.
Yeah, we just thought it was like a really good intro and you were waiting to review.
Yeah.
I thought you were all seeing what I was seeing. And apologies for that.
But don't you love that everyone's default assumption is that you've planned it and it's going to be something cool and not like Tom doesn't know what he's doing?
Got it.
That's a great reputation to have. So don't say anything, no.
How about now?
Nope.
All right. Crowdcast with the fun this morning. And it says, I'm sharing this tab to Crowdcast. We're going to try this as a window instead. So hold on.
Yeah.
We'll try a slightly different version of the screen. Window ID.
I swear it was the most recent. I swear it was the most recent Chrome update.
Awesome.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
Yay!
You can see it now?
Woohoo! Yes.
Yes.
Oh, thank God. Okay, cool.
Woo.
Otherwise, we are going to have to play this on on the.
You're
This
going to
is
share
be
it
real
with
fun.
one of us or something. The
Right.
background is, y'all, I must have tried 5 times to get my sound working this morning in the green room. So we're a little anxious about
Yeah,
things
all
working right.
good. The latest screen, Crowdcast plus the latest Chrome equals. That's a lot of fun. Anyway, so we were talking about, we talked a little bit about AI optimism, and we're talking about people being nervous about the future there, and that's totally to be understood, especially if you've seen anything that comes out of ChatGPT. But we also get a lot of concern about security, and that this remains the admin's biggest worry, and that is totally understandable. A really exciting part of this is that heterogeneous environments for devices are now the norm. We understand that most of our customers and most of the small to medium enterprise IT people that we talk to, not just Jump Cloud customers, but broadly the industry speaking, is that there's a heterogeneous environment out there, which means that there are macOS devices, Windows devices, Linux devices, Android devices, iOS devices. Everybody's got everything, and they need to manage it. So they need to understand what's on all of those things. In addition, modern identity and access management continues to be complex and maybe just a little bit burdensome out there. And folks spend their time actually managing this kind of environment, and they'd like that to be better and easier. In addition, managed service providers continue to be integral in a lot of these small business environments. Whether you have an MSP that handles everything, or whether you have an MSP that handles one part of your environment, managed service providers continue to be a huge focus for the industry, generally speaking, especially as staff augmentation. In addition, the economic conditions that we're under out there, the regulations that are available for the different markets that we're in, as well as security threats, make life uncertain, and that is definitely a high level concern for our admins writ large. So that's a super important thing to keep aware of. So the first big area that I want to talk about today is artificial intelligence for IT. And so, when we asked our customers, we were like, hey, does your organization have plans to implement AI initiatives of any kind, not just within IT, but within the business over the next period of time? And what we found is that more than half of our customers, in fact, close to 2/3, have plans to implement some kind of AI initiative in the next year. And most of the rest, have some plan to do that over the next 2 years. Whereas just 13% of our of the survey respondents, rather, have no plans to implement AI initiatives at all. That means that folks are largely interested in what these kind of technologies can bring to bear for their environment. They're experimenting. They're looking at those environments. And if you look at how our respondents responded, that was English, I promise. If you look at the survey responses for this particular area, we saw more than 80%, or excuse me, close to 80%, more than 3/4, suggest that the organization they work for today should be investing in some form of artificial intelligence. So, looking at this environment is super important, but there's a whole lot of concern out there in terms of AI outpacing the organization's ability to protect against threats. So understanding that almost 2/3 of the respondents of this survey agree that AI has concerns for their security environment. And so while there may be plans to implement, there's definitely countervailing controls. We see this all the time in the conversation. And so we wanted to call out some best practices associated with those kind of things here. This is a place where you should be customizing your AI solutions. You should be training your AI models on small sets of organization-specific data to make sure that you're actually recognizing normal behaviors and detect anomalies. Recently, we had a conversation with a security vendor who had looked at the Jump Cloud agent and saw a bunch of, possibly suspicious activity associated with the Jump Cloud agent. We're like, hey guys, that was user management and policy management. Those things that our customers pay us to do on their behalf. So any sufficiently advanced device management functionality can be indistinguishable from an attacker in some cases. So, those kind of AI and ML solutions that are focused around for this environment have to be carefully concerned and have to be carefully, and handled in these spaces. You also need to make sure that you're prioritizing data privacy and governance as you interview vendors, as you have things trained on your own data. You need to make sure that you're implementing anonymization and ensuring that secure data access protocols are handled in this case. Considering that, hey, by the way, local data processing is really important, and where your data is in fact processed, whether that's local to the devices that you control, or whether that's up in the cloud someplace, you may need to be very, very careful with how your environments go. And so, as you look at those kind of things, it's very, very important also to foster ethical AI usage and to have really great AI literacy associated with this. So, make sure that you're using models that are ethically sourced. Make sure that you are using models that have been trained across appropriately diverse data. It's very, very important to making sure that you get the right models back. Most of the large language models that we see today are focused on, trained corpuses that may not or have been ethically sourced. So you need to make sure that you're having these conversations with your vendors, having these conversations with your internal stakeholders to make sure that you're getting the best results for your future.
I like that
Um,
you said, diverse there, Tom,
yes,
because, there are a lot of training models that are very biased, and I think not enough people focus on, um, making sure that they are not introducing biases into the way they're doing these things, into the way they train, the way they even do prompts into AI, um, because I'm seeing a lot of instances where, um, that's not enough of a focus. I'll just put it that way.
agreed. Making sure that you're considering, hey, what's the data this model's been trained on? Is it been appropriately licensed? Has it been ethically licensed? Has it been, trained using diverse sources? It's really, really important to make sure that you have a good understanding of the training models here to make sure that you've got, some balance against the inherent bias of the people who are making the software initially, or to at least have the conversation with the vendor to make sure that they're aware of your needs for diverse model, and that it's been trained on appropriate data. Because if you train it on the wrong data, you're gonna get the wrong result out of the AI. Period. Full stop. No way to prevent that.
Mhm, and ask
All
them
right.
questions about,
Oh yeah.
you know, like how many diverse people contributed to the code? Because that's important for those for the biased inputs, like, did you have enough women and ages and races and experiences giving input to those? Because that's where those things get introduced, and a lot of people don't even think about that and how their inherent bias goes into the code.
Yep. So diving back in, we want to talk a little bit about, SME security and talking about, small to medium enterprise IT focused security in this case. The key insights from the survey this year, and you can get the survey. You've got a full download access directly from our website as well at jumpcloud.com. And we'll make sure that there's a link here in the show notes at some point as well around this. What's really been interesting is that growing budgets in IT are growing again. More than half of our respondents said that their IT budgets are currently growing, and they expect them to grow again for the rest of this year and next, which is really really exciting. In addition, we're seeing an uptick in the adoption of biometric access forms. Whether that's Touch ID for your individual devices, whether that's a YubiKey with a biometric attached with it, we're seeing biometric authentication see an increase across the industry. And in addition, secured password factors, whether that's password managers or multi-factor authentication and single sign-on, are all continuing to rise across the industry, which is exciting because these are all industry-leading ways to protect your environments. So that's really, really exciting. In terms of how people are feeling about the security posture of their environments, people are much more concerned about security than they were 6 months ago, which is wild to me. I mean, we've already been at such a heightened level of security awareness to see, more than 50% of respondents say that they agree or strongly agree that they are more concerned with security now than they were in the late summer. Is both really scary, because I was going to say we're seeing a big rise here, and really exciting because I think that this shows the importance of secure posture to an organizational leader. And this is really important. If you don't have a great solution for security in your environment, you may be open to business disrupting attacks. And that's really, really hard. So if we look also about, some opinions, situations here as well, I think it's really, really important to recognize that, MFA has different types. And, as we talk to people, there's a broad range of what are the acceptable types of MFA. Here we see, 33% of respondents that said that biometrics are the most secure step for multi-factor authentication. In addition, verification apps like Norton VIP or JumpCloud Protect or the Okta Verify application are considered to be the most secure, followed by, one-time passcode that is texted to a mobile device. So most of these are actual hardware-based solutions, with the exception of that quarter that are focused on the one-time password that's delivered over SMS. And we all know about the challenges that SMS has in terms of its own security. So, when we think about those kind of things, that's really, really interesting. 2/3 of the respondents said that their organization requires the use of biometrics for employee authentication, which is up 10% over the last version of this survey. It's really, really exciting to see what you are to be a part of that solution. I recently ended up with a Vision Pro, and that is using a new form of biometrics on me that I was not aware of before, and that's an iris scan. Takes a look at the iris in my eye and makes sure that I am in fact Tom Bridge when I put on my headset to do some spatial computing. So it's really exciting to kind of see these new kind of techniques that are there, and also it shows a lot of trust associated with those biometrics, because people realize that those biometrics are kept on device. They are securely stored in the secure enclave or the secure element of your mobile device, or the secure enclave or the TPM on your Windows or Mac device, and can't ever leave the device. There was a lot of fear when biometrics first came out that they might be used to be stored in the cloud or accessible from anywhere. And device manufacturers have been very, very clear. That's not how we want to roll with this. That's not, in fact, a secure way of doing that, because it's not like you can just change your biometrics. Like, that's really, really hard. You have to burn off your fingerprints, and nobody wants to do that. So, Rob, in fact, I have seen the James Bond movie with the eye scanner. So fear not, friend. We'll talk more about that later.
I think we all cringed when we saw Men in Black and saw them burn off their fingerprints and said, nope.
Yeah, no, that's
you.
why it's so important to have, those kind of things that they're associated with it. So, that's an important part. So if we look at the top concerns here in terms of how people see, the security environment, still the biggest fear is kind of a broad network attack vector. The second biggest is a software vulnerability exploit, something that's in your environment that is that you have deployed that has been exploited. And then, third is obviously ransomware, where an attacker has gained access to your devices and encrypted them with keys you cannot currently derive. Those are three very, very common concerns. I think it's really interesting to see another one of those that's very high up that list: use of the same password across different applications. As password managers are making a broad entry into the enterprise market now, and JumpCloud has the JumpCloud password for a manager, for example, to help with that. There are things that you can do as an organization to adopt technology to help resolve these kind of threats, so that you can use your password managers to create new and unique environments for your users to securely store their passwords for deployment. Obviously, misuse of a privileged account is certainly something that is very, very concerned. I find it very, very interesting that use of unsecured networks continues to be a focus as we talk a lot about, using unsecured Wi-Fi out in the airport. Largely, thankfully, that is mostly a safe environment these days. Due to the broad use of TLS literally everywhere on the internet now. The fact that we've got secure session across all of those environments is super important, but obviously it's not perfect for a lot of environments. So, I think that we're seeing a very interesting trend year over year around what people think the top risks are. As we look at kind of best practices for handling security, making sure that you have a good evaluation of your IT environment, and as you make changes, making sure that you understand fully primary, secondary, and subsequent ripple effects of changes to that environment to make sure that you've got clear understanding of where we go. In addition, being able to understand that identities are super important to your environment, having inefficiencies there can be a major friction point for your colleagues and a major friction point for organizations writ large. The burden on admins continues to increase here, especially when 10% require 9 or more. 10% of organizations require 9 or more tools to do their job. Tool sprawl is absolutely growing, and it's having effects on our individual admins as well. In addition, you should be able to be focused on your automation regime and be having tools that are available there to help you automate your onboarding and offboarding, automate individual security tasks, automate all sorts of alerts and notifications for your end users. It's super important here, and AI can help. But the automation can give you more time back with faster implementation. So being aware that the future is really kind of built for automation, and your IT future can be based on AI. There is really, really interesting. Not to mention workflows and things along those lines. As we mentioned at the top, heterogeneity for devices is definitely here to stay. As we look at utilization within enterprises, we're seeing Windows slightly downtick to 60%, where 22% of endpoints are expected to be Apple endpoints now. 18% are to be Linux. Both of those are on the rise, and they are taking their market share away from the Windows side of the house here, which is super interesting to me, the Apple stockholder, and also, the former, principal product manager for Apple devices here at JumpCloud. I certainly welcome that environment and that trend to be writ large. But if we asked, our respondents to tell us, hey, what do you expect in the next year? More than 40%, in fact, just shy of 50% expect Windows device use to increase. More than 40% expect macOS device to increase usage to increase. 30% plus expect Linux device use to increase. And very few, less than 20%, are expecting that to decrease, or macOS was the winner here in terms of less than 10% of admins expect macOS device use to decrease at this point. And around 20% are expecting no change at all in their general fleet composition. This is what's really interesting here to me. I think the best practices for organizations should be largely focused on employee choice initiatives and allowing your individual end users to tell you in IT what they need to do their job. Much like we don't ask them to tell us what they, we don't dictate terms to them in terms of, hey, we're going to want you to, go with our common standard, for a lot of these things. We're going to seek your input, and we're going to ask you what it takes for you to be a productive part of our workforce. That's really, really exciting. Determining which devices are going to allow you to scale and scale effectively is really, really important. In addition, you need to be able to prioritize flexibility and simplicity in this case, making sure that you have a good set of understanding here on a lot of these kind of things is super important. Last but not least, a UEM, like Unified Endpoint Manager, like JumpCloud, for example, is your friend. You should be leveraging a device management solution that allows you to change faster than the device market, which will allow you to buy new Windows machines if you need them, buy new Apple machines if you need them, buy new Linux laptops if you've got somebody who's really got a dedicated use case for that, who wants to really kind of bring to bear all of those solutions here. So that's really exciting. Last but not least, you need a mobile strategy. You need a strategy to handle all of those mobile devices, whether they're purchased by your company or you have to support the devices that your users already have. You need a strategy for handling that. Everybody wants the back pocket access. I keep my phone in my right rear pocket, right? I pull it out so that I can, check my email or log into work Slack or take a look at what's going on in the world, because not every day do I have my machine hanging out, in front of here. My laptop is actually largely a workstation here at Jump Cloud. It's largely attached to my desk. You need a strategy so that everybody can work no matter where they are. And having a good BYOD solution is a big part of that. Interestingly enough, we wanted to talk a little bit about, passwordless, and going passwordless in a password-centric world, is going to be super exciting for a lot of folks. As we look at people, we ask people, hey, how many different passwords do your employees have to use to log into their resources? It was amazing to me to see just a quarter of people say 1 to 2 passwords is all they ever need. 40% say 3 to 5 passwords at least. 11% say 10 to 15 different logins just to do their job. That is bananas. So when we wanted to talk to people about using organization-wide password management tools or software, 80% said yes, and they still have those large percentages here. So that is really rough. We also want to get into some best practices here to say reduce the number of passwords that you have. Use SSO to help do that. Use password managers where you can't use SSO or where there's an SSO tax your business can't pay. And make that easy. Make that SSO process easy. Most importantly, going passwordless with something like Jump Cloud Go is super helpful for your environment to decrease friction while not compromising on security. Making your critical resource logins phishing proof by requiring a factor like Jump Cloud Go during authentication is super important for your business. All right. Last but not least, best of the best. The takeaway slide for all of this. We want you to customize and anonymize your data to make sure that you can have good ethical AI adoption. And I apologize for the typo on there. Apparently, I had a stroke and couldn't spell anonymize. And then get to prioritize your flexibility and simplicity for your deployment strategy for all of your IT tools. Last but not least, develop a mobile strategy with a UEM like Jump Cloud. Automate all the things, but stop for inefficiencies and make sure that you can capture those inefficiencies in your documentation and for future development. And then last but not least, you should be going passwordless using Jump Cloud Go. And if that's one thing you can take away from today, if you're using Jump Cloud for SSO, you should be using Jump Cloud Go everywhere you have a device with a managed login. So with that, I'll stop sharing my screen and we can go back to chatting. Questions, concerns?
10 to 15 passwords.
Yeah.
I had like a full body reaction to that. Like,
I'm lucky if I can remember one password on a given day. I need a password manager anymore.
I
And
100%.
know.
There are
it's really,
so
really
many
rough.
apps and things like in my personal life, like there are everybody wants you to download an app now.
Mm-hmm.
And here, download our app. It's like, I no. But even their website, you have to have different passwords for different sites and things, and it just gets to be too much. I'm looking through the comments to see if there were any questions. There were lots of comments as we went along. Dean had an interesting comment because he said there was a guy in the UK arrested in the airport for using the airport Wi-Fi to send an encrypted message to his friend saying, "I will blow up the plane."
Yeah, I saw that story on that. They recently actually had to drop that prosecution. And because it wasn't necessarily clear how that message was captured by GCHQ. And GCHQ wouldn't say. So I was going to say, please don't joke about hijacking. It's a very bad thing.
Yes, it really is. Oh, I think that link Dean is sharing
Yes,
is
that's the
probably that
story. Yeah.
article. Yeah. Ooh. I know, and that what's weird is if it was an encrypted message.
Well, it apparently was sent using Snap, and Snap claims end-to-end encryption. But I was going to say, I thought it was really interesting recently that Apple started talking about post-quantum encryption for iMessage. And there's starting with the .4 releases that are due out, any day now, probably early next week. Is that the iMessage will now be wrapped in post-quantum encryption, and so will be used to do the individual key updates and things along those lines. So you're not going to really be able to man in the middle those particular messages because they are end-to-end encrypted and now contain post-quantum encryption. So because that's the concern, right? Is that somebody in between those folks. And I think that those are places where if you can capture traffic that's encrypted, you can just wait for that encryption to be breakable over time. Switching to a post-quantum encryption decreases that likelihood substantially. So
Yeah, that'll be really nice because then you don't have to, go find WhatsApp or Threema, or actually I don't even know if WhatsApp is
well,
end
and
to end.
I think that there's Apple calls out really 5 levels of different kinds of encryption and protections that are available. One, no real encryption here, no end-to-end encryption at all. Basic one end-to-end encryption. There's level 2, which is now, or excuse me, level 2 is not really occupied at all right now. Level 3 is where we're going to end up with iMessage once this functionality is out, and then level 4 is kind of like future development for iMessage at this point. That kind of sets the guide frame. But if we think about level 1 is your WhatsApp's environments. Level 2 is Signal, and level 3 will be post-quantum and iMessage at that point.
Yeah, cool. Very cool. Oh, I think there's some more on here. Sam says they were obviously using deep packet inspection on their firewalls, which is not quite legal because now you're looking at the public's web traffic without informing them or having the proper legal authority to do that.
It's not really clear that what they were doing in this case. I'm not sure deep packet inspection necessarily helps in the cases where there's certificate pinning used, because then you don't have the right keys to decrypt the individual web traffic. So, I think that those are the places where, if you're using deep packet inspection, if you are allowed to submit, to essentially force use of a different cert across the domain, and this is using proxies and things along those lines, and web traffic proxies that are intended for that kind of utilization. It's not really likely that you're going to be able to do that if the services involved are using certificate pinning, because then it says, I don't care if you have a valid DNS certificate that says you can do that. You're not using it unless it's these sets of certs. So it kind of depends on how the app was set up. It also, as Ross brings up a point, since this was a group chat, it's possible somebody in the group might have, called them in as a joke, and that's not always great either. So there are all sorts of, challenges here. So, yep.
I mean, on the public Wi-Fi too, it may be when you're joining there's all these terms and conditions that people don't read, and it could be buried somewhere
Sure.
in there too, especially at an airport where they're so worried about something happening that it could be buried really deep in there, and you give up any privacy you think you're having anyway.
For sure.
Yeah. So Tom, you mentioned we've only got about 6 minutes left. You mentioned your Vision Pro.
Yes. I was going to say, I do have my lovely face computer here. And I don't know, Joel Rennick and I have been calling them face huggers. Because the other band that this is used with is kind of uncomfortable. It actually really does kind of compress down my face. I don't love it. But yeah, I was going to say, I've got one. I've been tinkering around with it. I've been kind of learning how spatial computing works. It's fascinating. It's really, really interesting. I've had a lot of fun diving back and forth. I made an avatar, which I will not show anyone. It was funny. When I made it, I did a FaceTime with my wife, who was sitting on the couch, not 10 feet from me. And shall we say, she had a very visceral reaction to the persona. And it was not, shall we say, good.
You
And
can't tell us all this and then not show us.
yeah, I can.
This is so cruel. I'm upset.
It's not great. These are things that are going to get better. I think that what I'm really most excited about, what I'm most optimistic about the spatial computing, is some of the the isolation techniques that it can use to kind of really make you focus, right? Like one of the great, I work in a big open desk here. There's like a box of, coffee equipment here on the desk, coffee creamer and filters and stuff like that. There's a lot of clutter in my workspace. And the ability to just dial that off, because I also work in like our laundry room here at the house. What you can't see off the window off to my left is like where my laundry is. And knowing that I would, I've got to go out and fold some laundry and put some other things away. Being able to just dial off the workspace and work in a, Joshua Tree National Park and sit outside, so to speak, or, on Haleakala Crater in Hawaii at dusk. It's amazing. It's really, really amazing. I cannot wait to see what they do with the spatial computing when it's part of a set of glasses in 5 or 10 years. But count me really, really interested in a lot of this. I'm really excited at the possibilities that this presents. I think that right now, many of the applications are like iOS or their iPad apps that end up in the space, and they've got iPad, size touch targets, which aren't great for the, for eye tracking based, clicking. One of the apps I'm having trouble with is Slack, because I switch workspaces a lot. I have the Jump Cloud Lounge, I have the Jump Cloud Slack, I have some personal Slacks, I have the Mac admin Slack. And like the little touch target that is in the upper left-hand corner that lets you switch back and forth between Slacks, I just can't get my eyes to go there. And it's really funny because you're like, I'm trying to move my eyes harder. I'm trying to stare harder at that, the little corner of the screen. And it's really frustrating because it just doesn't work. And I think overall there's going to need to be an adaptation for spatial computing. I can't wait to see where we are in a year. But the technology's here, friends. It's really impressive. This is, it's so interesting to think that this is the worst of these that will ever be made. This is the worst one. And it's freaking amazing.
We used to have Google glasses.
Well, we
Not the
did
worst.
have Google Glass, but like, I don't know if that
I don't even think that was really.
I feel like that was the prototype, and this is the V1.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it's the prototype. I think it's like the minimum viable like tech demo, right? Like I don't even think it's early enough to really help you. I mean, there's all sorts of fun critical path things that need to get resolved. The spatial awareness in terms of like using gestures to control is really great. I love the gestural control. I love it that I can put a window on the ceiling and kind of like lean back and look at my calendar, for example. Or have the weather kind of off to my right side, or have a timer up in the corner of the ceiling. Those things are amazing. It is incredible to consume media on. I watched Masters of the Air on it. It is really, really beautiful. But the one that's really cool is the immersive videos that Apple has put out. They have one called The Highliner. It's about a woman who went to Norway, Norway, and is a highline walker. She sets up a highline, and that means you walk the highline. And she set it up across like a little portion of a fjord. And it's 3,000 feet down. And when you're looking down from the camera, it's 3,000 feet down.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
She set the line and she's talking you through all of the safety stuff that she's done. And she's like, yeah, I know the first time I fall, it's going to be like, did I tie my knot correctly? And so they set up and like 3 minutes into this 10-minute video, she falls. And it was a moment.
Yeah.
Because it's just so shocking. And she just talked about how she would fall for 14 seconds before she hit the ground if she had not tied her knot correctly. And
listen, I ride a scooter in India, and I have these moments like 15 times a day. So I don't need to get on this Apple Vision Pro to feel that same feeling.
It was, it was filmed in the early fall in Norway. So the trees are just changing colors. You've got the whole, and see, the thing is, it's 180-degree field of view. You're following her, but the shots are broad. And so you can look around the landscape and just kind of obsess about, all of this beautiful space. It is honestly astonishing what they can do with the visual storytelling for this. And I was talking with a friend of mine who's an Emmy-winning, story designer and has done some of these things for immersive media. He is overjoyed with what this is going to be, because he's just really ecstatic about how being able to do immersives is new and possible here. And I'm really, really excited, really, really excited for seeing what that means. So I'm looking forward to more media. I'm looking forward to more options. I'm looking forward to more apps. The apps are kind of limited right now, and the compatibility apps don't always work. I mean, they do it okay. They're just not built for spatial computing yet. And so, I mean, if your app is simple, it will work great. If your app is a little bit more complex, needs a little bit more navigation, maybe it's not ready yet. I'm optimistic. I cannot wait for this future. I am really excited for all of those things. I do have a long flight planned in April, so I will be taking it with me. And that will be exciting. Again, the battery pack is quite robust. It's very heavy. It only lasts about 2 to 3 hours. So like I'm going to need to recharge on that flight. And so, I mean, it's kind of doing its own thing. But I think that I'm not ready to wear it out in public yet. I'm not going to be that doofus. I'm going to wear it in my office, or I'm going to wear it on the couch. I sat on the couch with my wife the other night, and we were watching we weren't watching TV. That's right. We were not watching TV. She was like, I just don't know what the etiquette is when you're in your face computer. And that made me pause, because I was like, okay, maybe this is an office computer, not a couch computer.
But
And
speaking of navigation, like I remember when everybody had to redesign everything when mobile devices came along,
yep,
because mouse pointer versus finger tap is a totally different ball game. So definitely they're gonna have to redo. Like UX is about to have a new like revolution
it's definitely a place
designing
where
for eyes.
I've negotiated our own console a little bit, and I've got some thoughts on where we should make things better. So
Yeah, it's gonna be a whole new like world for sure. Because now, like even with things that were like mobile first, that then developed like a desktop app or like a browser app, like Instagram, for example, is horrible on the browser. Like it's just like, this was never meant to be looked at on like a laptop screen, so this should just not exist. So I'm like interested to see where the UX will go.
same. And I'm really excited by some of the apps that are starting to show up in the Vision Pro store. There's a great app from the former creator of Apollo. He made the Reddit app that was really, really amazing, until Reddit did the stupid thing and pulled everybody's third-party API keys, or tried to charge them millions and millions of dollars to use them, which is why I use a lot less Reddit now. But he built one for YouTube, and it's amazing. It's a really great way to watch your channels on YouTube and keep touch with your YouTube shows and clips and things like that. It's really great. And then you can put it over in the corner and watch those things up in that way. So lots of great stuff.
But does this mean that there's an app store where you have to pretty much like buy all these different apps and buy new ones?
It's not it's not universal. So for example, there is a store, and it's meant for Vision Pro apps. And it's part of the Apple App Store. And here's the interesting spot. If you have an app on iOS and macOS already, there's nothing stopping you from making a Vision Pro target for those apps under your same license. You can choose to do that. And some application manufacturers have done that. Carrot Weather is a great weather app that does it that way. And so the fact that I pay for Carrot means I get it on the Vision Pro. I think that's the smart way to do it now. There are people charging money for Vision Pro versions of apps. And you can pay for apps that way if you want to. But like the Disney Plus app that I use on there, and I watch, Star Wars on Tatooine, or watch a Marvel movie at Avengers Tower, that's free with my subscription. They're not charging me extra yet.
Yet. Yeah, that's
Um,
the key
give them.
right there.
We'll see how it goes. I'm excited for this future. I think it's going to be interesting.
I just hope that while this innovation is happening, somebody will fix the keyboard input on like smart TVs. Do you guys see
Oh, it's
that
also
keyboard
not
that's
great
just like
on. It's not great
the
on the
worst?
Vision Pro either. I will sit with my. That's the other great way to use it, is with your laptop, right? Like, so you use it with your laptop. You can look at the screen of your laptop as a big window on your thing, and then you can type and use the mouse and stuff along those lines. That's great.
Okay, that's
It's
good. Yeah,
not
yeah. We
ideal as
perfected the keyboard. We
look.
really perfected the keyboard.
Oh,
Yeah.
that
Let's
that's
not
why
let that.
on some of the apps, when they just put up a QR code and say scan this and then you can verify it in
Mhm.
your app, I'm like, thank you.
Thank you,
Because
Jesus.
because that little moving the cursor around drives me bonkers. Because what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to have a complex password, right?
Yep.
Well, then
I'm
trying to type that
grateful that
in.
most of those support password managers. I'm grateful that they support passkeys now, which is super great for places where you can use a passkey. I want passkeys everywhere. So yeah, we've got a lot to build in the future to make this better.
Yeah,
But we're seeing
absolutely.
more of the problem now, and that's good.
Mhm. All right. Well, we are 5 minutes over, and some of y'all are still hanging out with us, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks for
And,
spending your Friday afternoon, evening with us. Appreciate it very much.
yeah, we've had a lot of good time. She's composing a poem to the future people who solve these problems, right in the chat.
Yep,
And Dean says, "It's why I like using the phone connected to the Xbox. That's part way there. My TV has an app on my phone that I can control the TV through, so that helps." Yeah, you're
yep.
right.
Same. I use the Apple Remote app with my
Yeah,
Apple
I do that
TV
too.
all the time.
Yeah, that's very
Same.
helpful. And there are a couple of apps that will just I think Apple is one of them where you can scan the QR code and it'll just you open up your app and then it's like, "Okay, you're in." That is super helpful. So I hope
Yep.
more follow that. All right, and with that, thank you all. I hope you have a great weekend, and we will see you next week. At least we hope
Yeah.
to. So please join us then.
Bye,
Take
everybody.
care,
See
everyone.
you next time.
Bye.